Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala ashraf al-mursaleen Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa tabi'ina lahum bi ihsan ila yawmiddin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin an-nabiyyil ummi wa azwajihi ummahatil mu'minin wa zurriyatihi wa ali bayt kama sallaita ala Ibrahim innaka Hamidun Majid wa sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslim kathira. And abad. So next Sunday I'm not going to be here, so that if you have something else you'd like to do, I don't even know if I can have one of my students here because Khalid is in the hospital, so you can make dua for him. And Habib Rasul, because he lives in Philly now, it's difficult for him to just, make it every time. So he probably will be here today, but I don't really need him today. Next week I won't be here. Okay? Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Everything is going okay with the midnight run stuff?
Very much so.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
That's
Everything
okay.
is okay, alhamdulillah. So tomorrow we're going to, inshallah, feed the homeless people. We're going to leave from here around 7:30, 8 o'clock at the latest. But if you can be here earlier, it's better, because I have a lot of organizational stuff I have to do before we go, like putting things in different areas so that it's easy to accessible when we're out there in the street feeding the homeless people. Sometimes they get a little bit antsy, they be in a rush to get their stuff, and sometimes they start pushing, and I have to have somebody to make some control measures so they don't get too crazy. And it's easier when we have everything already arranged, so we can just hand it to them and they let them go. So inshallah, if you could come a little bit early, that would help a lot, inshallah. I should be accessible all day. Assalamu alaikum. I should be accessible all day. I'll leave my phone on, all day, so you can contact me. Some people will have to bring things to my home, so I'll be available all day, inshallah. And if I'm not right there, and you just leave a message, I'll call you right back, inshallah. Okay?
If I may, so like the stuff I have, I could just bring it at 7:30.
Bring it here.
All right, cool. That'll work.
Just bring it here, and I've already made arrangements for them to keep it safe until I come, inshallah. But his problem is a little different because everything is in the truck, right?
Going to pick it up tomorrow.
Okay, so you're gonna just keep it in there and just
Yes.
go take it on the run.
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. So that makes it
We
easier.
might have to organize it just like.
It still has to be organized because there'll be some other things that we'll have to put in there too,
Yes, sir.
inshallah.
Yes, sir.
So it still have to be organized. But basically, that's it. We should do fine. Everything else has been
Yes.
taken care of, alhamdulillah. I'm just gonna wait for these two young men to come so they can sit down after they make their nafu, inshallah. Everybody feeling okay? Alhamdulillah. So last time I was here, the young man asked me a question about, Omar asked me a question about, well, what can we do, to do better, And so, I basically told him, about my history with what Dr. Dunya told me to do. It's like he just gave me an order. He didn't give me a choice in the matter. But Sheikh Saad told me that he was giving some talk, and he said that if you increase in your nafils, if you increase in a voluntary ibadah, things that you do on your own, that is not obligatory, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you a lot of extra benefit. He will have more love for you because you put in more effort when you didn't, when it's not obligatory. So, alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How you doing? Alhamdulillah?
Yes.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just telling them about this question that you had asked me last time about what else can we do, to try to get stronger and like that, And so, Sheikh Saad say, it was just hadith is that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says when you do extra ibadah, you do something more than is required from you, that is obligatory on you, that He comes closer to you, He becomes like after some time of you doing extra, trying harder, He becomes like your eyes wherewith you see, your hands which you use to pick up things and to defend things, and your feet that you use to go in the right direction. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes your feet go in the right direction. So in fact, one of the ways to draw closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by doing extra, more than what other people are doing. And to do it voluntarily is a big ibadah, big worship, because, this is something that you're doing from your heart. It's because, nobody voluntarily does things from their heart unless, they have a good intention, they have some good, their niyyah, their intention is they want to be pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they put in more, see? And He will give you more if you put in more. So basically that He told me, and I thought about your question. I said, well, maybe I better give him that information too, Yes, brother, no problem. Okay. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Oh, Omar, I'm not going to be here next week. No, I won't be here. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, so you guys have to call me on the phone and see if either Habib Rasul, if Khalid is out of the hospital, he will come, but I'm not sure. I can't guarantee 100%.
I'll talk to Abdul Adil.
Abdul Adil, I can see if he's available. I don't know, but I'll ask, inshallah. So everybody knows how to contact me, right? So during the week, just call me. I'll know within the next couple of days, inshallah. Okay. But me personally, I'm pretty sure, even for the ladies' class, which I never really give them. I never give them absentee classes, but this time I won't be able to get back, inshallah. Okay. When you have a previous prayer to do, and the present prayer meaning the prayer that is now, coming now, and the present prayer is due, what should you do? Yes.
Prayer. Sorry.
You're supposed to make the prayer that's in now, and then when you finish, make up the prayer that you missed?
No. Actually, that would be Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. That would be the logical understanding. See? Unfortunately for us, many times our logic does not agree with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's logic. Many times that, this is why He sent Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Actually, that was my fault, because I wasn't asking a question from you. I was asking the question as a part of the lesson plan. But in fact, it's okay, because I get to tell you about something. The Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is unique. It's unique because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Gabriel alayhi salatu salam. He sent Gabriel alayhi salam to inform Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about all of the details that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to know about. He left no room for guesswork. So our religion is unique in the fact that the Muslim people have all of the information from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that they need for every single thing in their life. That's what this is. This fiqh is so that everything that has to do with your ibadah, you will know exactly what is preferable from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's point for us to do it. So, suppose that when you have a previous prayer to do, and the present prayer is due, the previous prayer is yesterday's prayer, or before, what should you do? When the previous prayers are more than 5, when the previous prayers are more than 5 that you owe, they have to be prayed after the prayer whose time is presently in. When the previous prayers are more than 5, they have to be prayed after the prayer whose time is presently in. So they're gonna divide. They're gonna categorize which prayers go first, and they're using how many prayers you owe as a means of understanding which ones go first. So let's say you owe 4 prayers. What happens when the present prayer now? The 4 prayers go first.
Right. You get 5.
It's 5 prayers or more.
No.
They come after.
Right.
The reasoning is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers that if it's less than 5, He calls that Yasir Afawit. It means it's a small amount. That small amount you should be able to make that small amount without a difficulty before you make the present one. So they make a ruling. The small prayers, they call them the small ones, less than 5, Yasir Afawid, that you must make those before you make the one that is coming in presently. If it is 5 or more, it's called Kathir. It means it's big. And so you will make those at your leisure, not at your leisure, but you will make those after the ones that come in now. So you can make 2 now, then a prayer comes in. And you make the prayer that comes in. So now you down to 3 or more. Then you would make another 1, and then you can wait a little while, and then you make 2 more, or if another prayer comes in, you make the prayer that comes in, until you catch up with those 5 or more that you owe. But you got to make those up. The time for it doesn't go away. Even if it's a whole year pass, or 10 years, or 50 years, you owe those prayers. You understand? They don't go less as time goes on. The responsibility of them gets bigger as time goes on. So you have to make them up. But the ruling is, if it's 4 prayers, if it's 5 prayers, less than 5 prayers, you make those before the prayer that comes in. If it's 5 prayers or more, you make those after you make up the prayer that is presently in. That's the rule. Don't forget it. Okay. So now they have another principle in that rule. Some scholars say it should be 4 prayers or less for a small amount. Some scholars say it should be 5 prayers or less for a small amount. They give you a choice. They say, okay, you can choose whether you consider 4 prayers or less for a small amount, or 5 prayers or less for a small amount. But once you make your choice, like mine is always 5 prayers or less, I call that Yasir Fawid. But once you make that distinction, you have to stick to it for the rest of your life. In other words, you can't say tomorrow, okay, I owe 4 prayers or less. That's a small amount. Everybody knows that. Then the next day you say, I got 5 prayers or less. Now today is going to be a small amount too. You understand? You have to, whatever decision you started with, that's the one you have to have for the rest of your life. That's the only thing about it. Yes.
So you say the name is Yasir.
Yasir Afawith. Afawith. I think the Arabs say Afawith.
And what's the one for big? A lot.
Kathir. It means a lot. Big. Yes. So that is the main principle of which prayers go first. The present or the ones you owe, the previous. Yes.
So this is done within your discretion. Like, let's say you go into the masjid and they're about to do the present prayer with the congregation. Do you join that congregation? Or
Yes.
do you go, okay.
You join the congregation, but you only join the congregation as in the madhab Imam Malik, when you come into the masjid, and you owe prayers, if you can find a way to make up your prayer and then come and join the congregation, that's fine. You should make at least one whole rakat with the imam so that you would be considered as having made that prayer with them. But if you come in and you don't have the ability or the timing to be able to do that, then you join the congregation for the eyes of the people, to mean that, they don't think that you're staying away from the imam because you don't like them or something like that, or because you have some other type of idea about Islam that is different from his or something, you understand? So you make your prayer with him. But after the prayer is over, you have to keep in mind that by the rule of this madhab, you still owe that prayer, because you can't make that prayer before, if it's a small amount, before the small amount you owe. So you have to now find a space, some place, make up what you owe, and then make up that prayer that you make with the imam, but you only made it like it was a nafil. You understand nafil? A nafil is a prayer that you do voluntarily and there's some reward in it. It's not obligatory. Yes?
Like the masjid by in Jersey, there's like the inside. There's also another curtain. The women play in the separate place, but that curtain is still on the men's side. So if you come in, you owe a prayer, you can go behind the curtain.
Don't be long.
Yeah.
As long as the ladies don't throw things at you. Because sometimes they protest even if they're not in there. Like if they find out that a brother was back there praying, they're going to go to the imam and say, hey, how come the brother's back there praying in our spot? Whether they're in there or not, they consider that that's their area. So, I don't know how it works in that particular mosque. Maybe they allow the brothers to do that, and it's like not so many women who come and go that, it becomes a problem. But here, the brothers just shouldn't go back behind that curtain, because, even if there's no woman back there, and then she happens to come after he started praying, and she looks and she sees somebody back there, she's gonna run for the security guy, because that's their area. They protect their area, which they should, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Wait, I gotta finish his question.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. So, I'm going to cover all of this information now, inshallah. So if you just kind of bear with it, all your answers will probably be answered before the class is finished. And whatever I don't, just write it down a little and then ask me again, okay? Okay, yes, Abdul Haq.
I was saying, the nafils and the sunnahs, they two different prayers, two different.
Okay. In the madhab Imam Malik, they consider everything that is not a fard prayer a nafil. A nafil. Everything that is not a fard prayer, they consider it as a nafil. Okay, but a distinction by other imams is that the sunnahs are the prayers that are connected to the obligatory prayers. Like for dhuhr, there will be 4 rak'ah before and 4 rak'ah after the dhuhr prayer. And they will come in sets of 2. 2, then dhuhr. Then 2 after dhuhr. Okay? Those are called sunnah by those imams because they are connected to a fard prayer.
Okay.
You understand what I said? But in the mother Imam Malik, they call everything that is not fard nafil. Allahumma salli wa sallam ala al-Quran. Okay. So let me continue. Suppose that I'm going to go backwards. Suppose that you have not prayed subh or dhuhr of our previous prayers. Must you pray subh first? The answer is no. However, you will be punished for not praying the prayers in the order that Allah ordered them to be prayed in. The prayers will be valid, but you will be punished. It says that the previous prayers have no time except the time in which you say them. The time of the prayer finishes after you say it. Islam does not ask you to repeat a prayer unless the time still exists. When the previous prayers are more than 5, they have to be prayed after the prayer whose time is presently in. When the previous prayers are less than 5, they have a strong connection with the present prayers. Some scholars of the Mazhab differ on the number, 5 being little or much. They agree that 4 is little and 6 is much. And I follow my teacher's idea is that 5 is considered a little. When the prayers are not little, then they have no connection with the present prayer. You can take care of the present prayer and then do the previous prayers. The little previous prayers, however, meaning 5 or less by my understanding, or 4 or less by some other imams, the little previous prayers, however, must be done before the present prayer. When you have a little previous prayer and a present one, you have to pay the little previous prayers. You have to pray the little previous prayers even if the time of the present prayers will pass. This includes Friday prayers as well. You understand what they said? They say, if you come in to make Jummah prayer, let's say you late for Jummah, and the khutbah already started, and you come in and you didn't pray the morning prayer, subh, 2 rakah, right? When you come into the mosque, if you don't pray your subh prayer, you shouldn't. You would be amiss to pray the khutbah, the prayer of Friday with the imam. So you have to get in your subh prayer before he make the Friday prayer for you to pray with him. You understand what I said? Mm-hmm. Now let's say that Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. That for whatever reason, you don't want to look bad in front of people, or I don't know what your reason could be, but let's say you don't pray your 2 rakah from the morning before the imam stand up to pray the Jummah prayer. According to Imam Malik, if you pray it with him, it would be considered as a sin. But they will give you the value of the prayer, but it will be considered as a sin. See? So, in fact, whenever you have less than 4 or less, or 5 or less, you should always make sure you get those prayers in before the present one. Because if you don't and you pray the present one, you will be making some problem for yourself with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like being lackadaisical with your prayers. Also, the scholars say that when you start that habit, before you know it, you have a lot of prayers that you owe, and you forget how many do I really owe. After a while, you start to let your small previous prayers become big because you're not taking care of them expediently. You understand expediently? Right away. All right. So whenever you have a small amount of prayers that you owe, what they call it, Yasir Afawid. If you have a small amount that you owe, you want to take care of those as immediately as soon as possible, so that they don't catch up with the next prayers that come in. Okay? Allahumma salli wa sallam ala al-ikhlas. Question. If you remember the little previous prayers after you start to do the present one, is it all right? What should you do if you're involved in the present prayer? That's the question. If a person says the present prayer first on purpose, he then must say the little previous prayer first and then repeat the present prayer. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. If a person says the present prayer first on purpose, he then must say the little previous first and repeat the present prayer. He has to do this even if the obligatory time of the present prayer is still remaining. For example, if the time of Asr finishes, you are not ordered to repeat it. Doing it again when its time finishes looks like nafil, and when its time finishes, there is no nafil for that prayer. Okay. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. So this rule is emphatic. It's like they're not allowing you any kind of room. They're saying to you, if you intentionally pray a prayer present time when you owe a prayer previous time, you still owe both of those prayers. You have to do the other one first, the one that you owe, the first one, and then do the one that you just did again. You understand? But that condition mainly agrees with if it's Zohr that you didn't pray and you prayed Asr. Because they connected together. Zohr have to go first, then Asr goes second. The same ruling is if you pray Isha before Maghrib. You can't pray Isha before Maghrib in the madhab Imam Malik and have both prayers. So you have to pray Maghrib first and then Isha. So for those four prayers, Zohr, you must pray it. If you owe it, you must pray it before you pray Asr. If you pray Asr first, you have to repeat it because they're connected. Zohr has to go before the Asr. If it's Maghrib and Isha, it's the same thing. If you pray Isha first, you haven't prayed Isha. You may have done it like the people will think that you're praying with the Imam or something like that. They won't look at you badly or something. But you have to remember, you didn't really pray Isha. Because you're the only one who knows about this. They don't know. See? So you have to pray Maghrib first, then Isha. Now, the Subh prayer, they're giving you some allowance, they say, because it's not connected to any of those prayers. See? It's still a sin, but the prayer itself is okay. They'll let you have the prayer, but it's considered as a sin. The only reason they let you have the prayer is because it's not connected where it has to go before the next prayer that comes to make the prayer valid. In other words, they have a saying, they say, Zohr, Gama, Asr, Maghrib, Gama, Isha. It means these prayers, Zohr and Asr are together. Maghrib and Isha are together. They share time together. So one has to go before the other in the madhab Imam Malik. I think some of the other Imams let you do as you like, but in the madhab Imam Malik, Zohr has to go before Asr and Maghrib has to go before Isha. Okay? I'm going to cover that. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. It is obligatory to do the little previous prayers before the present prayer. If you do the present prayer before the little previous prayers knowingly, you will be punished on the day of judgment. You still have to repeat the present prayer after the little previous prayer if the time is still existing. What's that mean by the time is still existing?
Why still in the time frame?
Say it again?
Why still in this time frame?
Yes, exactly. The time frame meaning if it's not into the obligatory time. If you haven't prayed and it gets into the obligatory time, the time is now, they don't call that existing anymore. The existing time is when it's in the optional time. That's the beginning period. The obligatory time is in the ending period. And then it goes into the overdue time, which makes that prayer now like the other prayer that you owe. It's called qadda. It means it's overdue. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu. When you finish this, you're going to be scholars of salah. You will never worry again about what I'm doing with my prayer. Once that happens, the shaitan, he's going to be very disappointed because he can't fool you with your prayers anymore. Rules. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. The mahmoon and the missed previous prayers. What's the mahmoon?
Those following behind the imam.
The one who's following behind the imam. The mahmoon must cut their prayer when the imam cuts his prayer after remembering he has to do little previous prayers. Okay. This is a rule. Listen to me. When the imam is leading a prayer, right? And he realizes he is in fact praying, this is only for the madhab imam. I don't think the other imams even know about this type of talk.
I talked to someone from school of thought of Imam Abu Hanifa, and at my school we have a room to pray in.
Alhamdulillah.
And Asr was, I was getting ready to pray Asr, he was already in the room. And I said, you about to pray Asr? He said, no, I gotta
Praise Dua.
So I was saying, pray Dua, we pray Asr. And I thought he was going to pray his Dua, my Asr. So I said, go, do you follow school thought? He said, yeah. He basically said that Imam Abu Hanifa also said that you pray, you have to have the same intention as
Absolutely.
As the Imam.
The niyyah for both prayers have to be the same. You can't, like if an imam is praying as, you got to pray Zohar, you can't say, okay, I'm going to make my Zohar behind his as. That's what he's saying. Yeah, no. Generally, the imams don't accept that. But I think somebody, don't ask me who, but I think some people teach it differently. Like they say, it doesn't matter what the imam is praying. But that's not the rule. That's very weak, that decision. I don't know exactly where they took it from, but that's their responsibility with Allah. I only have to teach you what I know is from the Figh of Imam Malik, from the books of Hadith, and from the Salihin, the people that we should follow who do this way. You are responsible for that. If I teach you and you do something else, that's not my responsibility. That's on you. But when you meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's going to ask you, because, He's going to ask you, well, why would you do that? It's like the reasoning for it is not good for strong faith, because if you know something is strong and it has all of the backing of all the way back to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the people of Medina during the time of Imam Malik and the Sahaba and the Taba'in, and many of this, many learned people from the universities, and all of that follow a method, and you do something else, that's basically saying that, well, I'm not going to pay attention to none of those people, I'm going to do it my way. And I wouldn't suggest a person doing that, Anyway, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu. Yes?
This is the, real quick, this is the school of thought of Imam Malik, you said?
This is the madhab of Imam Malik that I'm teaching. The book is called Shah Asagri. It's the book that they use for the master's and the doctorate's program in the University of Al-Azhar. Anyone who is following that way, they have the backing of those people throughout history. Inshallah.
What's the name of the book again?
Shah Al-Sagriya. Yes.
Does Isha have an expiration time after Maghrib, or does it have have a time all the way? I mean, not, they should have an expiration time after midnight, or does it go all the way to before? So
Before it gets into the overdue time, you're asking me.
yes.
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. That's another lesson, but generally the overdue time for Isha is when just before the Subh prayer comes in. But the last third of the night, Assalamu alaikum. How you doing? Nice to see you. Alhamdulillah. Actually, the last third of the night, the first third of the night, is when the obligatory time comes. You understand what I said? So that's around, let's say, just rounding off numbers. Let's say around 12 o'clock at night. If you haven't prayed by 12 o'clock at night, you should be praying. If you're not praying, then you're putting yourself in a bad condition with your prayers. You understand? So that's for Isha prayer. Yeah. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima kathira. So this time I'm talking about when the Imam realizes he cut his prayer. When he cut his prayer, this prayer, he's not going to say, Assalamu alaikum, like he would do if he had to go make wudu. He's not going to do that. He's just going to stop his prayer and walk away. When he stops his prayer and walk away, he may talk to the Mahmouds and say, I can't lead you in this prayer. I have to make up something, or whatever he has to do. If he wants to say anything, he may not do that either. He may just say, somebody else lead the prayer, or somebody else start another prayer. He'll say something like that. Because this prayer, for him, when he started it, knowing that when he remembers that he had a previous old prayer, that prayer that he's doing now is not considered as valid. So nobody can come behind him and start from where he left off. They have to start a new prayer, because that prayer in itself is not valid. You understand? You probably will never run into this condition. The reason is that most of the people that you will run into won't be scholars on this type of way. And so, they may owe a prayer and remember while they're making a prayer, but instead of cutting the prayer that they're in, they won't say nothing and they'll keep praying. And, the people, they don't know. That's only his niyyah. It's a secret between him and Allah. The people won't know, so they won't be able to say, Imam, you shouldn't have kept praying. They won't be able to do that, you see, because they don't know.
Are we judged then?
No, that's his responsibility. Just like his wudu, you don't know about his wudu. So if he breaks wudu and he don't stop and go make a new one, and the people following behind him, that's not our responsibility. Because as far as we're concerned, he still has the wudu. That's between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our prayers will be valid, his would not be. And then he'll have to explain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala why he continued to make the prayer. In general, anything that you have to explain, try to explain away to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not a good position to be in. Simple as that. Anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is questioning you about, and he already knows the answer, you know that, right? He already knows the answer. But anything that he has to question you and ask you, why'd you do that? Something like that, it's not a good position to be in. Okay? Which is why we do our work. We do our study, and we try to put in our work so that we won't be in that position where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be questioning us about this or that, As a matter of fact, the more you do, the less you have to think that, you'll be questioned about. So, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's very merciful to us. So what He does is, if you do a lot of extra stuff, He a lot of times will replace the stuff that you didn't do with the extra stuff that you did. Because He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be successful. So He's the only one who can replace things with things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like say you owe some prayers, you didn't do it properly or whatever it is, or whatever your actions may be, but you tried to make up and do a lot of good things behind it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He can look past what you owe and say, okay, I'm going to give you that in place of this. And He can keep fixing up your life, your history. He can keep fixing it through, if you do a lot of good works, until you become successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to not even show that, your bad things to other people at the time when he will be making judgment. He can just wipe that away. But he will not do it if you are an oppressor. If you do anything to another person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say he will not interfere in the oppressed getting his just due. So that means that if you did something oppressive to somebody, you took their stuff, you lied on them, you cheated them, you was cruel to them, whatever, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's gonna stay away from that until the person that you did the injustice to is satisfied. In this case, satisfaction means that the person that you did the injustice to, will get your good deeds until he's satisfied that the good deeds will compensate from the oppression. And let's say you're a person that didn't have enough good deeds, then the oppressed person can give you his bad deeds until he feels compensated for the oppression. So in any case, this is a very bad place to be in. And this is another reason that the Prophet ﷺ advised us to ask for forgiveness before we die to a person before they die, if we have any difficulty with them, if we've done anything that may be construed as us oppressing them. Like, let's say a man with his wife, or his children, the children against the parents, or partners in business, or one Muslim to another Muslim. All of these type of things, if you do wrong to them, that's called oppression. See? That's called oppression. And so the best way to, lift that oppression up is to try and correct it before you die. Because if it's not corrected by the time you die, they will have an advantage over you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they will have the right to either take your good deeds, Assalamu alaikum. They will have the right to either take your good deeds, or if you don't have enough good deeds, they can take your bad deeds. You can sit anywhere. Yes.
Okay, I have two questions. That same someone the oppression, can that be a Muslim to a kuffar?
It can be anybody to anybody. Just look up. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. The Jewish people, one of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemns them about is that they had this idea that because they were the Jews, anybody who wasn't a Jew, they could basically do anything they wanted to do to them. They had the right. It's like, if you wasn't one of us, you didn't count. See? So when the Prophet ﷺ came, he let us know that that's not the case. If you say you're a Muslim, that doesn't give you the right to treat badly somebody who doesn't say they're a Muslim. As a matter of fact, in history, one of the things that the Muslims most liked, the people like most about Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he was kind to everybody, whether they was Muslims or non-Muslim. He was just to everybody, whether they was non-Muslim or Muslim. Even if they were the enemy, he was even just to them. See? So this is particular. The Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that you don't look at a person and go, "Oh, you're not a Muslim, so I can do anything I want to do to you." Absolutely not. You have to always be nice and kind and polite and generous and respect to everybody, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim. You follow me? Be sure about that. Because this is what condemned the Jews to have a problem with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that they would, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. This is like saying, The Anglo-Saxons during chattel slavery had the right to enslave the black people because they wasn't white. You understand what I'm saying? Justice is justice. Justice, just. It has nothing to do with whether you say I'm this or that. We as Muslims have to be just to everyone, even to animals, even to trees. We have to be just to every single thing in creation. Because if we want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be just to us, we have to be just to others. And one of the ways that many of the people came into Islam was because the Sahaba was so just to the people around them who weren't even Muslims at the time, a lot of them, that they was like, well, what kind of people are these? What do they believe in? They're the most just people I've ever come in contact with. Whereas the merchants always was cheating us before, these guys never cheat. They never lie about their goods. They had Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. The way merchants sometimes cheat, they do it today too. The way they sometimes cheat is they'll take the bad goods and they'll push the bad goods to the front, knowing that in the next day the bad goods are going to be no good. They'll push them to the front and they'll take the really good goods, the ones that would last for some time, and they put them to the back so that when the people come in, unsuspecting, they come in, they take the goods, they take it home. Then when they get home, they say, wait a minute, this is going bad already. But the merchant knew it. So he did that intentionally to sell the bad goods. See, but the Muslims didn't do that. In history, those Muslims would say, wait, don't buy that. If you buy that, it's going to go bad. So if you're going to buy it, you better use it right now, today. Because tomorrow you won't be able to use it. And meanwhile, it's not so good, so let's take some of the price off of it. You understand what I'm saying? They were just, and they gave the person the choice. Whereas nowadays they hide it. They make the good look bad and the bad, they make the bad look good, so that the people buy it, and then they get cheated. See, this is another way of oppression. Oppression don't just have to be that you grab somebody by the neck and go in his pocket. Oppression can be by a lot of ways. So Muslims always have to be careful. Even systems are oppressive. Systems, it doesn't only have to be individually. Systems themselves can be oppressive. See? The way they put it to the structure of the system can be oppressive to some people and not to others. This also will be an allegation when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somebody's going to have to pay for it. There will be no free ride. Be sure about that. There will be no free ride. Everybody's going to have to own up. And this is why the Muslim people, knowing this as a fact, what they say, yaqeen, it means, yaqeen, it means like certain that this is going to happen. So Muslims have to fix their life knowing that this is going to happen, so we don't be in a bad condition when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Who was going to ask me something? Yes.
What is the adab for cutting your prayer? If you're leading the salat and you break your wudu, or you remember you have a previous prayer, you cut it, what is the adab that you use to stop the prayer, get someone to take your place, and go ahead and do what you have to do?
If you have broken your wudu, you turn around and you look and see who's behind you. And you try to take someone who is behind you. He's okay if he wants to sit there. He can sit there. If you see somebody who's behind you, and you can take that person like that. Or the people in that line, the first line, the one who is directly behind the imam, if he has the ability. This is why the people who have the ability to lead, if the imam is not there, should be in that first line. Should be. It's not always going to be like that, because the people of today, they're a little mixed up on the etiquettes of that. What they do is, Everyone runs to stand in the front line because they understand that it has a lot of rewards being in the front row. And so they run to stand in the front row. But sometimes the person who's standing directly behind the imam, if the imam could not lead the prayer, that person wouldn't know how to do it. He just happened to be standing in the front row. It should be the other way around. It should be like the people themselves don't play. Don't play. It should be that, Assalamu alaikum. It should be that the people themselves should know who is standing in the front row with them. And so, let's say someone is standing in the front row behind the imam that the people know is not like going to be useful to the prayer, you know. And then somebody is standing back behind him who is useful to the prayer. The people themselves, I don't know why they don't do it today, but the people used to say, please, let this brother come stand behind the imam. Because they feel safe that if something happened, that person that's standing behind the imam can help to keep the prayer intact. Whereas they don't feel safe about the other person, maybe some new shahada or something like that, or somebody who is questionable how much he knows about the prayer. They don't feel so safe with him. Unless like if there's like a lot of people that can do it, then it's okay. But generally it should be the ones who are the best at the prayer, who are best in Quran, best in knowledge of the prayer. They should be the ones who are standing directly behind the imam in case of some incident. And then, you know, they will make him go forward and complete the prayer from where the imam left off. Unless he himself makes you know that this prayer is not a valid prayer. If he lets you know that this prayer is not a valid prayer because I shouldn't have been praying this one, somebody else have to start a new prayer. And then somebody else has to do it. The people don't, in other words, the people at that time don't have a right to appoint somebody else to finish the prayer from where he left off. They only have the right to do that if he breaks wudu. You following me? Or if he becomes sick, or some other reason that he can't complete the prayer. But for a prayer that he started when it shouldn't, the prayer itself would not have been valid, even if he finished it. Someone can't come behind him and complete it from where he had to leave once he realized that this prayer would not be a valid prayer. You understand what I said?
Yeah.
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay. So, you want to ask me something else?
What if the most knowledgeable person here is your sister?
Sister can't lead us. Unequivocally, beyond any shadow of a doubt, there's no question that no woman can lead us in our prayers. The ulama say that when a woman becomes the leader of the nation, the leader of the men, the nation is on its way to destruction. The ulama say that when a woman becomes the leader of the nation is on its way to destruction. So we're not just talking about the prayer. We're not saying that a woman can't hold some position in public office or be a judge or a legal attorney or she can do things, but she cannot be the primary leader of the nation or the primary. She can't be the person who leads the Muslims in their prayers. It has to be a man. Okay? Yes?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Under the fiqh of Imam Malik, if there's sisters and they're going to have a congregational prayer, would one sister lead or would they just...
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakatuh Muhammad. They have two ideas. One idea is that each lady should pray her own prayer. Each lady should pray her own prayer. The other idea is that they could have a lady who is standing in the middle. She's not in the front. She could be in the ranks, with the other ladies in the middle. And she can be the person who says, Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamida. You understand? But that's, in this madhab, that's not preferable. Preferable in this madhab is that, first of all, that the ladies don't pray outside in congregation alone like that. First of all, that their prayers are more for in their homes or in some other secluded environment, and that, you know, if there's no man to lead them, then each one should make their own prayer. This is, in this madhab, is preferable. But because some other imam allows them, like in Saudi Arabia, this is like pretty much normal, that all the ladies stand in a line, and one lady, it says Allahu Akbar, and then other lady, but she's not like leading the, like in the imam position. She's standing in the same line as the rest of the ladies. You understand? So since some imam allow that, the madhab say whatever. You know, if it happens, it happens. But you know, it's not preferable as far as the madhab Imam Malik is concerned. As you like.
Say it's a sister, she got children, right?
She what?
She has children, but she don't have a husband.
Okay.
And she got 4 boys.
Okay.
Do she lead her family in salah?
Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. Okay, so we're getting off the subject, but
Okay.
the woman who has boys in her home and no husband, is her main objective is to have her oldest boy to learn to make the prayers properly. See?
Right.
So she's allowed to lead her family until one of the boys who is of age, who's what they call mukhallif, when he's old enough to lead people in prayer. When he's that old, you know, like 12 years old, you know, some people say 11 years old. When he's that old and he can lead them in prayer, then she should stand behind him.
Okay.
Yes.
This is about what you were talking about justice.
With?
Justice. It should be just. Is it alright for a Muslim to be a lawyer when he has to, even though he knows someone committed a crime, he still has to defend him?
This is a question beyond my ability, because my advice to anybody who's going to be an attorney is that maybe that's not the best profession for a Muslim, unless he's going to be an attorney who is going to take cases of people that are presumed innocent by reason. Like you know, there's like a lot of things pointing to the fact that this person is getting an oppressed position from the courts. I'm going to defend him. See? But if you're talking about a Muslim who's going to defend John Gotti, and you know, it's like most of us believe, you know, that he did crimes, then I would tell that brother, no, brother, that's you in the wrong profession. You know, as a Muslim, you can't try to make somebody not pay for something that we are almost assured that he's guilty of. You see? So no, I would tell. There's what's called. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakatuh Muhammad. There's what's called blameworthy professions and praiseworthy professions. In Islam, they make it like a fine-tuned understanding. Like, let's take medicine, with something that, you know, most people, even in foreign countries, they always want their children to become doctors and nurses and stuff, because that's considered as a great profession. You understand? Very lucrative profession. You make a lot of money, prestige, you know. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. So from their own reasoning, from their logic, they would say, yes, that's a great profession. They push their kid to be that. But then as time goes on, and if they like look into the Islamic idea about that, it has a fine-tuned reasoning. It says that if you're in a place and the place has already hundreds of thousands of doctors, and the time it would take you to put in to become the 100,001 doctor, it wouldn't be considered at that time as a praiseworthy profession. So the scholars, then they break it down. They say because to become that person takes more than half of your adult lifetime. And it takes all of this time in study and practice and putting in all the work that's necessary, and it would leave very little time for ibadah. I had students maybe 4 years ago, sitting right here where you're sitting now, that came from the professional school, medical schools. And they came Muslims. They came from far. They came and sat down. Sheikh, what are we going to do? You know, what do you think we should do about, you know, because our parents, they pushing us to be doctors, and, you know, but we see that, you know, it's taking like a toll on our life, trying to, you know, to learn medicine. And, you know, most of the time I'm late for my prayers if I get to make them at all. You know, a lot of times some of the stuff we have to do was Islam would not accept it as being halal. And, you know, what should we do? So this is a choice. But in Islam, it's a fine-tuned understanding that if you're in a place and it has a lot of people doing one profession, but they're mostly doing it for money, and if that doing it for money and that takes you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of the time that it's going to consume in your life, then it's not going to be considered as praiseworthy. But let's say you're in a part of Africa and they only have like 15 doctors. So somebody got to help. You understand? So they say, okay, you and you and you and you, y'all go to the best medical school that we can send you to, and they're gonna have to sacrifice something so that when they go back to their country, they will be like doctor number 16, 17, 18, and 19. You understand? That's praiseworthy, because it will be considered as a big sacrifice for others. But they still have to try and keep up their prayers and do whatever they can do. But they won't be doing it so much for money. Because why? In an environment like that, where they going to pay them in chickens? Yahamakallah. Where they going to pay them in chickens and goats or something? You know, you understand what I'm saying? Because they don't have a lot of money. If they had a lot of money, they would have a lot of doctors. So this is how, you know, Islam, you know, it doesn't determine things on like the profession itself, except for, you know, it's like Islamic scholarship, you know, being a Hafiz, Quran, these type of things that, you know, you're not in it for money anyway. You're not making no money, right? And not doing this. You know, the mu'adhin, you know, they don't make no money. They're not really the imams. I mean, if you consider what they do make, they just make just enough to survive on compared to like somebody in another profession in this country. They're not doing it for money. They're doing it for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. See? So they have praiseworthy and blameworthy professions. In this country, I would say to be a defense attorney and to be a Muslim would not be a good idea, because you got so many people committing crimes, and they just look for anybody who can get them off. They don't care. I didn't do it. They lie all the way up to the end of the world, but you know they're guilty. You know, and then a lot of times the lawyer has to know that they're guilty, because when he's asking questions and he's not stupid. You know, he said, "Oh, come on, you did it, but I'm still gonna try to get you off. I'm gonna help you get." You know, but we're not allowed as Muslims to help bad in no kind of way. In no kind of way. You know? Even against yourself. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. You want more? One day he ran up to me downtown. He says, Sheikh, I need to talk to you. I got a problem. So what's the problem? He said, yo, these brothers over there in Brooklyn told me that I can't be a correction officer because if I become a correction officer, it will be against Islam. I said, oh, really? Where'd they get that information from? I don't know, but you absolutely can be a correction officer because, it won't keep you from doing your Islam. It's nothing about being a correction officer that's against Islam. You just make sure you keep your prayers and make your fast for Ramadan and be fair and just and all this type of stuff. And, even inside the prison, if you see some people bullying the prisoner, trying to rob him or something, you protect him. He'll be happy that you're there. 20-something years later, captain comes in, he says, I retired from corrections, all these are my awards, I trained all these people, I got all these officers, they took Shahada. Listen. Being a police officer, if you're an honest, good, upstanding Muslim brother, you can do more good than a lot of people. Because you're carrying on your side with authority that if you see something wrong, you have the right. Many times I wish that I had the police officer status. When I be in public and I see somebody doing something and I have to think. Because I was trained that this knowledge that's in my head, I can't put it in a bad position a lot of times. Because maybe, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take me away from, and I'm being careless, He will be angry with me because, I hadn't done all my work with the people, and some people didn't get what they were should have gotten, or everybody gonna get what they're supposed to get, but, maybe I didn't take enough care. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be angry with me for putting myself in a position where I put myself in danger. You understand? Not that I can fight. I'm a trained fighter. But I have to always consider, should I do that or not? And so I have to look at the situation. But I have done it. I had my wife with me. And this guy was harassing people on the train. I knocked him out. Seriously. I'm not making this up. He was harassing people on the train. I had my wife with me. I was taking my wife out, and but I was much younger and a little bit more aggressive. So I didn't even think about it. I told him, go sit down. And he said something back to me about my mother or something. And, so I jumped up, boo, knocked him out, and all the people on the train started applauding. But the problem was when I hit him, I didn't know, because his head hit the ground real hard. I didn't know if I had done serious damage, and I didn't want police come, and try to arrest me. I didn't know what the situation was, so I told my wife, next stop, we're getting off. So we got off. But the people themselves were very happy that somebody stood up against this guy. He was just give me some money, he was like an aggressive beggar. You know what I mean? Aggressive. And it's obviously he was a little bit majnoon because he was saying things to people that just, anyway. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. A police officer, you'd be happy to see him in the right place at the right time, They have a saying, what they say, where's the police when you need them? That's meaningful because, when you're in a situation and stuff, you need to see that police. You be happy if he's there. So I would rather see a police that's saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, than to see some guy who's down with the coke dealers and, he got a gun, he's a police officer, but, he's a crook. You know what I'm saying? He don't have no iman, he don't have no law in his life. So, yeah, if you want to be a police officer, any of you young guys, I cheer you on, but, just make sure that you don't become corrupted by that system. Just stay a Muslim. That's it. As you like. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad. Abdul Rauf, you got to go?
Maybe another 5 or 10.
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barakallahu Muhammad.
What time do they call to get done?
They use, I don't know exactly, but it should be in about another 15 minutes.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Actually, there's a thing right on the other side of that wall. Then it has the prayer times, and with the first time is the one for the azan. Okay. If an imam or single person completes 2 rakah and has started,
12:07. Excuse me. Tell them the time. I took a picture.
you got it? Okay, alhamdulillah. Afwan. Oh, assalamu alaikum. I'm glad you came. Assalamu alaikum. How you doing? Alhamdulillah. Okay. When you are Mahmoud, you remember you did not pray Zohr and Asr, and the Imam and everyone else in the congregation do not have any previous prayers, and you are praying Maghrib. You should complete the prayer with the Imam. You should not leave the Imam. This was your original question. You should not leave the Imam. You should complete the prayer behind him. After this, you must pray the Zohr and Asr that you missed. Then say the Maghrib again if the time is still existing. The time is still existing as long as it is not the overdue time. But in Maghrib prayer, the overdue time starts to come quickly. The obligatory time comes quickly because Maghrib doesn't have a long amount of time. So, if you pray Zohr and you pray Asr, immediately after the people have prayed Maghrib, you will have enough time to make Maghrib again. What they're saying is that, let's say you prayed Maghrib with the Imam, and then for whatever reason you didn't remember that, you didn't make Zohr and Asr. And then, as the night goes, the day goes on, it goes on, and then when Isha time comes, you say, oh, I forgot to make Zohr and Asr before I made the Maghrib with the Imam. You have to now make Zohr and Asr, and then after you make Zohr and Asr, you have to look and see, did the time for Maghrib, is it past now? It will be past. So you can keep the Maghrib, you understand? You can keep the Maghrib, but it's some kind of a small sin, but because you didn't remember at the time, it's okay. But if you remember that you owed the Maghrib, you remember you owed the Zohr and Asr, then you have to make the Zohr and Asr, then make the Maghrib right away.
You keep the Maghrib because Isha is about to come in?
That's right.
Okay. And Maghrib is the overdue.
It's going into its overdue time.
Overdue time, and the overdue time is.
In Maghrib, actually, the overdue time starts quickly. But in the Figh, he asked me this question. In the Figh, what happens is, for that particular prayer, they give you a judgment. They say, around 5 rakats before Subh. Something like that, right? Yep. So, but they only mean that technically. They only mean that technically, like as a measure. It doesn't mean that if you miss Maghrib and then all night went, and then, it's 5 rakats before Subh, and then you say, oh, I didn't pray Maghrib. Nah, this is bad. Very bad. Very bad. But they're using that only as a measure, because for Maghrib, once the prayer itself is finished, it's owed right then and there. And it's considered as like, in the early part of its bad time. You understand? It's like that's the very earliest part of his bad time is right after the prayer is finished. You understand me?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. So they're just doing that you following it now?
Yes.
They're just doing that as a measure, like so that people can say, well, I'm really in bad shape with my Maghrib because I should have prayed that way back then, and it's already up here. Oh my goodness. So they're like putting a little pressure on you to know that, Assalamu alaikum. so you'll know that, your timing is bad. You understand? Okay, I'm sorry.
It's along the same line. So with Maghrib, like it's because of the sun setting, right?
Yes.
So when the sun is set, that's like your overdue time is running. It's
Basically, absolutely right. Absolutely. So that we have a measure. We know, okay, for the other prayers, except for the morning prayer, for the other prayers, okay, we got like a long period of time to deal with, getting the prayer in and still be considered as okay. Not mockery prayer. Mockery prayer, people can't come they outside, talking to each other, lollygagging. The imam makes the adhan, the muaddin makes the adhan for Maghrib. Very shortly after that, the imam goes to read the prayer, and the people still procrastinating. No, not Maghrib. Maghrib don't work that way. You gotta be preparing for Maghrib as soon as you see the redness of the sky. That means that it's gonna be time for Maghrib very shortly. So if you're in any kind of position that you can go and get ready, you're supposed to go and get ready right then and there. You understand? Like, look, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. I'm in the taxi, right? I'm in the taxi, I'm talking to the taxi driver, find out taxi driver's a Muslim, I'm a Muslim. Taxi driver say, I say to him, well, I gotta make Maghrib, so can you kind of just take me in that area over there, because you gotta make Maghrib too. So he tried to tell me that, he's gonna be okay. I said, no. We gonna make Maghrib. I'm paying for the ride. You gonna make your prayer. And so he did what y'all doing. He laughed. He said, okay, Sheikh. So you have to, your prayers, you have to take care of your prayers. This is like the thing that's going to make us different than the other people. You see, this prayers is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something that He's given us that if we keep it, it's like a treasure. It will save us. It will save us when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The prayer is actually going to talk for you. The prayer is going to speak for you. The prayer is going to tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He took good care of me. Allah already know, but the prayer will be a witness for you. It was, Ya Allah, he went to all the extremes. Even when it was cold, he made wudu so he could make me on time and in the cold, and he didn't care whether or not other people saw him do it, but he was bowing down. He made me when he had to. So the prayer is going to speak for you. See, so this is something we definitely have to take care of. I was telling him, I'll come to you next. I was telling him last week that not that long ago in our nearly past history, there were some people who considered themselves, they called themselves Muslims at the time. They called themselves the Nation of Islam at the time. And that nation, so this information is going all across the country, all across the world. My videos, people see these videos everywhere, and from all kinds of different places. And then they call me and they call my representatives and they talk and they ask questions. So I'm doing this purposely. This is not an accident. I'm saying to you. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. In our nearly past history, these people used to say their prayers standing like this. They didn't make ruku and they didn't make sujood. And they used to say their prayers like this. So when I asked the ulama, I said, well, there's some people in my country, they're making prayers like this, what should we do? They say, okay, well, you're going to get back on that plane. You're going to go back there and you're going to teach them how to make their prayers properly. Don't fight with them. I'm being honest with you. This is an instruction. Don't fight with them. They don't know any better. Because maybe in the future, they will make their prayers properly. So they kind of gave them a pass. Because it was in an era when a lot of people didn't know about prayers in America. You understand? A lot of people didn't know about prayers in America. Even the ones who thought they knew didn't know. Even the ones who they was making ruku and sujood, but they didn't know the prayer. They knew the movement, but they didn't know the prayer. Okay? Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. So, time goes on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent mercy to those people, and He sent them Wafdi Muhammad. Wafdi Muhammad came, and he taught those people the proper way that to resemble the prayer of the Muslims, and the proper way of belief in Allah's one, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His prophet and His messenger. Okay, so the things that they were missing in regards to proper Islamic understanding, He gave them a formula by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy. And when He did that, it took away all of those people's excuse. So anybody who stuck to praying like this after that time, they're guilty and they're not considered as Muslims. You understand? Anybody who, after He sent Warif Deen, they didn't need me. Because I wasn't influential with them. They needed somebody who came from among themselves, who had a position among themselves. He was the son of the founder of the movement. So when he spoke, people started to listen. And then he was also had some Islamic training. So he could explain to them the true Islamic understanding. See? So now they gave them a choice. Some people immediately heard it and said, I knew it was something wrong. All right, I'm gonna do just like, the Imam said, and I'm gonna get my prayer book, start learning, get my Quran, start reading. You understand? They became safe. Then you had the other group. Oh no, he's coming. That's gonna divide the business. And he's changing the whole philosophy, and so no, I'm staying over here with him, with this other guy. I ain't calling no names. So Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Okay, so the ones who didn't come into the fold of Islam, they're not considered as Muslims. So whoever is listening to this talk, you have to understand Aqidah. You have to understand that there's things that make a person a Muslim, and if they're not doing those things, they're not considered as being Muslim. I don't care what they say. They can talk all the good stuff they want. But if they're not practicing in the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are not considered as Muslims. Now listen to you.
I had a few questions. One was, when you're in the middle of a prayer and you break your wudu, do you stop your prayer and make wudu again and then pray again, or do you just keep going?
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. When you break wudu, you become in what's called an impure state. You can't make prayer in an impure state. So you have to stop your prayer, go and make wudu, and come back and start that prayer again. You can't come back and start the prayer from where you left off. Assalamu alaikum. So
Tomorrow, sure.
okay, you call me if you need me,
Yes,
and try to be early, and let me know that you're here when you come.
will do. Because we have to organize this first.
Absolutely,
Get it tomorrow morning.
absolutely. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Salam Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Again, if you break wudu, just like you can't start a prayer without wudu, you can't finish a prayer without wudu. So when you break wudu, you have to stop, go make a new wudu, come back, and start your prayer again. What's your other question?
The other question was, so say a person is backed up a lot in their prayers.
You mean they owe a lot of prayers?
But you don't even, like you were saying earlier, you don't even know how many prayers you owe. how do you go about adjusting that? Because
I understand the question.
yeah, because I was wondering, like, do you continue to make your nafus to adjust for
No,
that?
I understand the question. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. When you have that many prayers you owe, the nafils have the nafils are not connected to those prayers. You can do your nafils and do your regular prayers regularly. You understand? Because you owe so many prayers that it has no effect on the nafils either. It's like you gotta just keep making them up as you go along, making them up as you go along. So you can't like postpone all of your nafils while you're trying to make up all these prayers that you owe. So you're allowed to make the nafils when you owe a lot of prayers. Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. What you have to do is you have to kind of like make some form of calculation. Like you could just say, well, I stopped praying properly about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I did used to make the morning prayer, but I didn't make the afternoon prayer, and I didn't make the night prayers. So I can take the morning prayer out the equation because I used to make those, but now I got to calculate how many afternoon prayers I didn't make and how many night prayers I didn't make over a 3-year period. So you kind of get a calculator, see, and you make that equation, and then you start every day. You say, okay, I can make Zohar 3 times. 1 time for the day, 2 times for 2 days I didn't make it. Following me? And you do that for each prayer if you're strong enough. If you're not strong enough, maybe you can say, well, I can make 1 Zohar for now and another Zohar that I owe. And then you take that out the equation until you make enough that, you know,
You feel confident enough to
you
clear
exactly.
So you can't just call it nafil. You can't just say I'm gonna make extra nafil for the prayer.
No, nafils don't have nothing to do with fards. Okay, Allahumma salli wa sallam barakallahu Muhammad. That's a good question. Fard prayers are the morning prayer, what we call subh, but a lot of people call it fajr. Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha. These are the obligatory prayers, right? Nothing can replace those for us. Like if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose when you die, and He like you for, you know, you put in a lot of work, you help save somebody's life or whatever, for whatever reason, you know, an amru bil ma'ruf, you know, you was enjoying it right, you know, you was given a lot of dawah, you know, whatever you did that He liked about that, He can say, okay, I'm going to forgive you for that lax in that prayer, and I'm going to replace it with this good deed that you did. Allah have the right to do that, but we don't know whether He going to do it or not. So we are obliged to, for any of the 5 daily prayers that we owe, we have to fix those. You understand? Nothing fixes those except doing it. So the nafil prayers, you know, maybe it will come into play when we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it's not considered as a means of replacing the obligatory prayers. You follow me? Okay. That's real important to know, because a lot of people they're looking at their obligatory prayers as if, well, if I don't do it, you know, I'll make it up later, and then later, and they don't make it up, and then next thing you know, a whole year went past, and they got a whole lot of I'll make it up laters. But by them not making it up later, they still owe that prayer. It's like it's not like other things where like time, you know, as time goes on, it gets less value or it's not as important. No, in Islam, when your prayers are concerned, the more time you spend away from the previously owed prayers, the worse the condition. So this is why they advise you, when you owe something, try to get it out the way as soon as possible so that it don't build up and become more. You understand me? Okay, what else you want to ask me?
My last two. One was about the prophets. I mean, it's kind of a little off topic.
Or the prophets themselves, I mean the group of prophets, the Anbiya.
Yeah, I was curious to know, was it possible for 2 prophets to live at the same time?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I wasn't sure on that note until I saw
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah.
Nice to see you all.
Alhamdulillah.
Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakumullah khair.
Nice to see you, Haji Ibrahim.
Jazakumullah khair. 2 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know how much you charge a minute. I'm going to take you one.
You always have my full attention.
For free?
Yes.
Therefore, I take 5 minutes.
Alhamdulillah. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. So, this is the education that Muslims need to know. All prophets, we believe in them. And we know that all prophets had the same message. There's no different message between prophets, because all prophets came from the only one Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not send a prophet with a totally different message than another prophet. So even if there were two prophets that lived at the same time, like let's say, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad, Moses, Musa alayhi salam, and his brother Harun, they were two prophets. One was big prophet, one wasn't a big prophet. How you know a big prophet? Absolutely. See, that's my student. See that? He said that with positive. He understood exactly. The big prophets have books that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send them with. Books, see? And when they come with the books, it's like, if there's another prophet that's there, he recognizes the prophet that is bigger than him. See? So, he will be a prophet too, but he won't be a prophet as big as the one who came with the book. So he will be more of a helper to the prophet who came with the book. Or let's say, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. Let's say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent two prophets at the same time, but they're not like in the same, right there together. Like Musa and Harun were together. See? But a lot of times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may send a prophet like Lut and Ibrahim. Lot and Ibrahim were both prophets, but they were a distance away from each other. You understand? So, the people who lived in the area where Lot was, they were under his direction. They should have been. They were under his direction, and whatever orders he gave, that's what they were responsible for. And the people who were in the area with Ibrahim, alayhi salatu salam, whatever direction he gave them, that's what they were responsible for. But because Ibrahim, alayhi salam, was the senior, see, he was like the great-great-grandfather of the prophets. Whatever he say, even if they had come together, he would have been the one that would have been the authority. See? So they have been, and during history, prophets that lived at the same time in the same area, more than one prophet. Absolutely.
My last one was about what you were saying about the criminal justice.
Yes.
Because I was kind of having the same issue, because I was going to be a defense attorney. But after a while, I started having these
second
feelings.
thoughts.
Yeah, because I'm like, I kind of feel a little wrong about that, knowing I would have to defend people that was
criminals
wrong. And then when I became Muslim, it was an even bigger problem because I know I'm not supposed
Absolutely.
to. So
that would not be considered as a praiseworthy profession for the Muslims.
I had started to consider, going into business world. I mean, I wanted to know what do you think about it?
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Muslims are, they're able to do business. Business is a sunnah that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did business. He was a merchant. He did business. See? The companions were business people. They did business. The difference is that the business of a Muslim have to be halal. It has to be clean business. It can't be dirty business. Like, you can't cheat people. You can't take interest. You can't. It has rules that apply to every Muslim, whether they're in the business or they're doing business or they're buying from somebody who's doing business. They have to still follow rules. You understand? So you can do business, but the main objective for you would be to find out what is the halal ramifications of business and what are the unlawful ramifications of business to avoid those. So I advise you, do business halal, get rich, and then give some of that money back to Islam. Like this, I keep telling these Muslim brothers and sisters all over the place, there's a fortune waiting to be made for whoever develops a halal meat place, right here in the heart of Manhattan. Whoever decides that they're going to do that business, they're going to get rich, inshallah. Because there is no halal meat stores here in the heart of Manhattan. It should not only be a meat store, it should be like the one in Jersey and the ones in Philly, where it's like they're factories. They're like, I mean, you can get like every type of cut halal meat. You know the meat is halal. Even if you look at the animal in the back, you can see the dhabiha on the animal's throat. You can see before they start to slice the animal down. If they open the freezer, they're big walk-in freezers. You go back there, you look, you see all the animals, dhabiha, with their throat cut. There's no question that this meat is halal meat. See, but here, if everybody from Manhattan wants the halal meat, which they're not doing it because people are taking shortcuts because there's no halal meat stores, so they're going to the supermarket and they're buying meat. You understand me? But the Muslims who really want halal, they're going to Atlantic Avenue. They're leaving from Manhattan. They're going to Atlantic Avenue and they're buying portions of meat and they bring it home. And then the next time they have to go back again. This is our Muslim brothers and sisters are like, we're not doing good business as Muslims, you know. Some of us should say, okay, look, let's take 5 brothers, 5 families, and we're gonna pool our monies together, make a contract. We're gonna go into this business, and I can, by Allah's mercy, I can almost guarantee, inshallah, that they're gonna do a prosperous business. You have any idea how many Muslims are right here in Manhattan, right here in the heart of the city? That the halal meat store here you can't lose, and it's halal. It's like for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will make you happy. And then in order for you to like really get the full benefit, once you start to make the monies and it becomes lucrative, give some monies back to Islam. Help to build something for Islam. An orphanage with children who have problems, no parents and different things, and some catastrophes that happen in lives of, give something back, or help to build an old people's home for the old Muslims so that they can have dignity in their life. They don't have to sit in the mosque begging for change. And, Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. This is our responsibility. Eventually, it's got to happen, inshallah. Because, we have to train our children. Even if we're missing, give them the idea so maybe, they'll be able to pull it up eventually. But it's our responsibility. See? Nothing worse than seeing someone die, some Muslim die, and then his family have to be running around in the mosque trying to beg for money to bury the Muslim, and people are like turning away from him sometimes, and administrations are like, oh, it's not my problem with masjid that they go to. It shouldn't be like that. We should already have a funding in place. The Muslims should take care of each other. See, when this happens, you just go, you fill out your papers, say, okay, in the morning, they be putting them in the ground because it's already, things are put in place. We have taken care of it. That's our responsibility as Muslims. See? Yes, I'm going to end this class.
Okay.
Yes, you like.
And leading to Allah, if you forget some of your surahs from memory, can you read it from the Quran?
You mean you can literally have the Quran in your hand?
No.
Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. And some imams allow that during the Taraweeh, if you're in an area where there is no hafiz of Quran, there's nobody who can fulfill that obligation, they allow someone to read. But, if you're just a general person and, you should practice your surahs outside without the Quran in your hand, and while you're in the prayer itself, just say what you know. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes you read the masjid, and a brother be reading the Quran, and he'll just fall into prostration.
That's called sujood tilawah.
All right, so what brings that about?
In the Quran, they have places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say prostrate. And so any Muslim who hears that is in the environment and he hears it, he should prostrate exactly at that time. Sometimes they make it while you're making prayer, but what is polite for the imam to do is to say to you before he says what's called takbir to ikram. Before he says the first takbir, he should turn around to the people and let them know in the second rakah, I'm going to say sujood tilawah, so that the people be alert that, at that point, you can expect that the imam is going to say this and then he's going to make sujood and then stand again. It's just polite. But if he doesn't do it, whenever he does it, you follow him. Allahumma salli wa sallam wa barak ala Muhammad. More? اللهم إني أسألك من كل خير سألك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم وأعوذ بك من كل شر استعاذك منه محمد نبيك صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما لنا وما أنت أعلم به من ربنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الماء والممات ومن فتنة القبر ومن فتنة مصير الرجال ومن عذاب النار رسول المصير وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Thank you for coming to visit with me. Alhamdulillah, I hope it has some benefit for you. But the main objective of learning anything is to put it into practice. To just hear it and put it in your head is not enough. You have to put it into practice in order for it to be valuable for you in your ibadah, in your worship, okay? All right, salam alaikum. Now prepare for your prayers.